Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is our pitching preview show that we do with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Successful professional handicapper for almost 30 years, including this year in Major League Baseball. Right now we're going to look at Saturday, June 13th. Joe Duffy, successful once again this year in baseball?
It has. It's been a tremendous year, a great overall year. And for those people who like to ride the hot hand, as we record this, been red hot, winning baseball days 7 of the last 9, winning baseball 7 out of the last, no, winning overall 7 out of the last 9. I think it's like 15 out of 21 in baseball, but a bunch of the losing days were less than a unit. They were just giving back juice. So yeah, we're doing extremely well.
Well, I'm not doubting that you're hot right now, but you're not as hot as Chris Archer, right? Chris Archer, this guy, unbelievable. Another awesome start. It was on the road at Seattle, so maybe we give him a little bit of an excuse for that, but now he's going to be at home against the White Sox. Not a little bit of a tougher assignment, but unbelievable, right? His last 3 starts, 38 strikeouts, 0 walks in 23 innings. Unbelievable. Does that continue, Joe?
Yeah, he's considered, I believe he's allowed 1 run in 25 innings. He's a heck of a pitcher, and he's pitching like an absolutely spectacular pitcher. He is pitching at home. How can you possibly fade this? Now, of course, he's going against one of the better pitchers in baseball, in Jeff Samardzija, so I can see maybe going with Samardzija, but again, this is one of those where the total's probably going to be even
well, but Samardzija, sorry, don't mean to interrupt you, but Samardzija's gotten pounded in his last 2 starts in a row, and obviously that's he's not that bad, but he's not a lights-out guy right now by any means. And if Archer is anything close to what he's been over the past 3 games, it's an auto bet on Tampa Bay, right? I mean, Samardzija has gotten hit recently.
Yeah. And not only that, but again, since coming over from Oakland, it's not like he's been tremendous. A lot of times when guys switch uniforms, they tend to struggle, and you're right, he's got a 4.93 ERA on the year. So who is in the better situation? There's no question that it's Tampa, but kind of like your theory where you expect, guys that are either poor pitchers pitching well to finally get knocked around, or a very good pitcher who's not pitching all that well to finally put it together. But who's got the pitching advantage in this circumstance? I still say when it comes to pitching, you really being the hot hand is probably more important than being the better long-term pitcher, because the lines are usually based on the long term. So I do think that Tampa's probably the better bet here.
And then an interesting situation, Philadelphia at Pittsburgh, right? Sean O'Sullivan against Cole, and obviously Pittsburgh has the huge pitching advantage here. The question is, the line is going to be huge. Is that going to be a trap? I mean, Cole, absolutely legitimately excellent and reliable. O'Sullivan, he's kind of like reliably hittable, but he's also only gotten crushed once this year. The question is that Pittsburgh big favorite line going to be a little bit of a trap, and actually you wouldn't want to bet on Pittsburgh here despite the pitching advantage?
Well, I will admit that I do have an allergy to teams that are big favorites, but O'Sullivan, look, he's an okay pitcher. He's actually gotten knocked around a little bit. He's given up 27 hits in his last 17 and a third innings pitch. So that's pretty dangerous. Probably those people who like to bet the run line might want to take a long look at laying the 1.5 rather than laying 2-to-1 odds.
Okay, and then the return of Justin Verlander. We were going to talk about that. I can remember when he was just a great auto fade, overvalued consistently game in and game out. Now he's making his first start of the year. His rehab starts. His last one looked pretty good. He struck out 9. His fastball was reportedly in the mid-90s, so those are very good signs that he's going to be able to come here and do well. It's just I have in my memory last time he was a regular starter in the majors, just one of the best bets in general to bet against him, bet on team totals overs against him. What do you think we can expect from Verlander here?
You are correct. If I'm not mistaken, he at least spent a good part of last year as the best go-against pitcher money-wise in Major League Baseball, certainly one of the tops. He's a big-name pitcher. He's coming off of, as you said, an injury, and the odds makers don't seem to account for that quite enough. I think that Verlander, from a pure value standpoint, is a go-against him.
Really?
And again, he might be, somebody whose better years are behind him. That remains to be seen, but we're handicapping one game at a time, and with somebody who's, coming off of an injury, I think that he's going to be very good value, at least for the next couple starts to go against.
All right, so despite his last rehab start, which had some very good indications, your sense is that in this game against Carrasco and Cleveland do you want to take a wait and see, or are you going to probably be leaning towards jumping right in with fading him first start in the majors?
Yeah, 5 2/3 innings in a rehab start is, it's maybe somewhat of an encouraging sign, but it's nothing to jump on. I just think that Verlander, we've made a lot of money going against him, and you don't want to necessarily be biased because of that, but a big name pitcher in a not ideal situation is usually a good fade.
Okay, and then a guy we've been fading this year, big name pitcher, CC Sabathia, right? He's going to be going against Baltimore. Now, the Yankees have actually been a great bet recently, but, Sabathia, he's getting through most of his starts with decent results, but in general, he just feels and looks and seems pretty vulnerable start in and start out. And then Norris, on the other side, had an ugly start to the year, but he's looking a little bit better now. He's coming off the DL, but it wasn't a physical problem. It was just that he had bronchitis, so maybe his arm will be a little bit rested here. What do you think? Do you think that Baltimore might have some value, might be maybe even a home dog, a little bit undervalued?
Not really. Look, I think neither one of these pitchers are very good. CC Sabathia, as you said, maybe he's got a big name because he's had a pretty solid career, but if anything, when you're going to pick this game, I don't think you're going to get a big pitching advantage. Maybe you look more at the offenses here, but I don't see much of a pitching advantage here at all. It's just that both pitchers with pretty mediocre credentials at this point.
Okay, and then a tough one. You take the tough ones, never hesitate, so I know this is okay with you. R.A. Dickey and Clay Buchholz, Toronto at Boston. In general, I'm just not a believer at Dickey at all, but we know that Boston's lineup has been very much underperforming this year, so are they going to be able to get to him even if he is vulnerable? And then on the other side, Clay Buchholz, a little bit of an enigma, has great stuff, puts up great strikeout numbers, and sometimes is dominant, but at other times, does seems to get hit a little bit more than we would expect, a little bit more than his peripherals would suggest he should. What's your take on this pitching matchup, Dickey and Buchholz?
Yeah, Dickey, usually, because of course he's a knuckleballer, he's able to pitch deeper in the starts, but he's coming off of a so-so outing where he only went 5 2/3 innings pitched. Buchholz is pitching a little bit better. As I said, these knuckleball pitchers tend to be a little more streaky than most. So because Buchholz more recently has pitched a little bit better, I would at least say the pitching advantage is his. But I still think that, Boston, they're such a big name team that they've kind of been overvalued all year, which may nullify whatever mild pitching advantage that they do have.
So do you expect, Dickey to get crushed? Do you expect him to have another one of those, 6 or 7 innings, 3 or 4 run starts that we see so much from him?
Yeah, probably exactly that. As you said, he's not one of these guys that necessarily, I mean, at one time he was, when he was over in the other circuit, he was one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball, but last couple years, he's been just that, usually kind of that 7-inning, 3-run type guy, and that's pretty much what I would expect from him. All
right, Joe Duffy, Saturday, June 13th, that's all I wanted to make sure we got to. What else would you like to bring to our attention?
Let's see, the Colby Lewis, the Twins are the only team other than his own team that he has never beaten. He's actually 0-5 lifetime with a 7.28 ERA against them. So, I've got to say he's a possible fade. Of course, conversely, he has pitched pretty well at home this year, although not all, that spectacularly. But as far as if you're big into how a pitcher is done lifetime against a certain team, Lewis would seem to be a big fade.
Joe Duffy's website, offshoreinsiders.com. Thanks so much, Joe.